how one student created his own podcast to explore the lives of the Cal Poly community.
We look back at an explosive chapter in the Tiana Arata legal saga.
Swastikas graffitied on the Jewish fraternity's property only resulted in the SLO community coming closer together.
Broadcasting from Swanson Studios, you're watching Mustang News.
Welcome back to Mustang News TV. I'm Mickey Dewberry.
And I'm Alex Byers, here for the Winter Best of Show, where we showcase the top stories from this quarter. One Cal Poly student started his own podcast called Polycast, where he speaks with students, faculty, and alumni about their lives and different experiences. Reporter Haley Belcher.
Davey Kozik, a general engineering senior with a focus in entrepreneurship, has his own podcast called Polycast, where he explores the lives of the Cal Poly community. He was inspired by the podcast The Joe Rogan Experience and how he is a regular guy who can have deep conversations with all different people.
So I had the idea for something similar at Cal Poly because I thought, Cal Poly fosters the same environment with all these different majors and industries. And I thought, heck, why not start my own podcast about it?
Kozik wants his listeners to see everything that this community has to offer. He hopes that those that are coming here, such as freshmen and transfer students, can make a connection with the community.
Some of the people I've had on, I didn't even realize that we had rattlesnakes on campus, or that, you can go diving off the Cal Poly pier. And so it really just showcases and highlights all the different opportunities that are available at Cal Poly.
His favorite episode was when he interviewed Victor Glover, a Cal Poly alumni and NASA astronaut currently on the International Space Station.
Definitely a highlight because he is just so inspirational. And at the time I was aerospace engineering. So yeah, it really meant so much to me. And fingers crossed doing another podcast once he comes back down on Earth.
Even though he will be graduating in June, he hopes that Polycast will live beyond his career at Cal Poly. For Mustang News, I'm Haley Belcher.
You can find Polycast on podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
On February 6th, a display of anti-Semitism was graffitied on a Jewish fraternity's doorsteps. We take a look now at how campus leaders dealt with the situation.
On the Shabbat morning of February 6th, members of Alpha Epsilon Pi and the rest of the Jewish community in San Luis Obispo woke up to find a devastating display.
We awoke to, multiple swastikas and Jewish slurs written on our doorstep and on the public property in front of our house.
Current president of Alpha Epsilon Pi and Industrial Technology Junior Noah Matloff knew that this was calculated and targeted at the Jewish community.
We can't take this lightly. This is not something that we can let fly under the radar. This is not just some one-off comment. This is a direct crime against our organization and the larger Jewish community in San Luis Obispo.
Cal Poly and AE Pi alumni Tal Edelstein had a strong reaction to his alma mater situation.
I was very upset. I texted my friends, texted my family, what's going on, and it was definitely tough to see that.
The incident gained local, national, and international media coverage as people from all over the world recognized the SLO community's efforts to shed light on the situation.
This happened, but how do we fix this and how can we improve this? And just looking at the AE Pi fundraiser that's been going on, that's the epitome of, I think, Jewish success.
A GoFundMe page was started by AE Pi philanthropy chair and sociology sophomore Darren Deutsch.
We immediately created a fundraising page for one, Yad Vashem, and two, the JCC here in SLO. So we were super quick to act, and I think that we turned something ugly into something beautiful.
San Luis Obispo Hillel's academic advisor and anthropology junior Isabel Ditzler sees a clear need for more education.
Anybody who thinks anti-Semitism isn't a serious issue, it clearly is. It happened in our community. Swastikas should not be taken lightly. If you're not educated about the Holocaust, get educated.
The San Luis Obispo Jewish community will continue to stand strong and united in the face of adversity. Reporting for Mustang News, I'm Mickey Dewberry.
Mustang News stands with the San Luis Obispo Jewish community.
Stay tuned for Cal Poly sports highlights and updates after the break.
1,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps. Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
Although many athletes' seasons were cut short or canceled at this time last year, thankfully we have begun to get back into the swing of things in the sports world. Let's take a look at a recap of Super Bowl 55 and see what's to come for Cal Poly baseball, softball, and basketball.
Super Bowl 55 took place on the 7th of February, when Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs took to the field against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a highly anticipated matchup. Although football fans across the nation were torn between which team would take home the Lombardi Trophy, Brady and the Bucs came out on top, earning the Tampa Bay organization their second championship title and Tom Brady his seventh. Brady was also awarded Super Bowl MVP for the fifth time in his career. In Cal Poly sports news, baseball kicked off their season with a home opener against the Nevada Wolfpack. Although the Stangs came out hot, ultimately they took a 3-1 series loss at Baggett Stadium. The following weekend, Cal Poly secured a 2-1 series win away against the USC Trojans. On a steady roll, it was clear the Stangs meant business when they went on to sweep Utah Valley in a 3-game series. The remainder of this month, the Stangs will be facing off against the UCLA Bruins, followed by Cal State Northridge and UC San Diego. In Cal Poly softball news, the ladies are hot off a 3-win streak after sweeping St. Mary's right here in San Luis Obispo. Coming up this month, the Mustangs are scheduled to face off against the University of the Pacific, followed by Stanford University. As for the women's basketball team, they most recently blew out UCSB 76-46 in one game, followed by a 78-68 loss to the Gauchos the following day. The ladies head into the Big West Conference Tournament with a 12-10 record and are scheduled to face off against Long Beach State. Lastly, men's basketball is looking for redemption against Cal State Fullerton after a 9-loss streak as they too head into the Big West Tournament. That's all for your sports update. For Mustang News, I'm Kylie Caper.
To get a bit of the action for yourself, you can tune into most of Cal Poly sporting events free of charge via BigWestTV.com. Back to you, Mickey.
Isla 341 and Art 483 create short films during the pandemic, and reporter Jared Contreras has the story.
Isla 341 Media Arts and Technologies, Cinematic Process, and Art 483 Digital Video 2 collaborated this quarter to produce 7 short films for the SLO Film Festival, working virtually and in a limited in-person capacity for filming.
So this is the first class that I've been forced to work in person somewhat. I mean, and we're all on board with it. We're all happy to do it. But it is an adjustment, and it is weird meeting online, the entire quarter up until when you begin filming. It puts a lot of pressure on the last 2 or 3 weeks, which is the stage we're in right now.
Students have had to work with time constraints, difficulties communicating virtually, and the pressure of staying COVID safe.
It's just a lot. I feel like it is, I wouldn't say it's harder. It's more challenging, but I think that we learn just as much as everybody else does, in person. It just would be nicer to have more hands-on kind of experience and practice before we just get kind of thrown out there and doing our own thing. So,
however, the limitations imposed by the virtual environment have provided some benefits.
I think that a lot of these challenges have proven themselves as a way to kind of be creative and to, kind of problem solve, and in the end I think a lot of silver linings have come up because of those challenges and because of those blockages, and we've all just been able to work around them for the most part. You know, the show must go on.
For Mustang News, I'm Jared Contreras.
The 7 short films screened at this year's SLO Film Festival.
Last month, SLO County District Attorney Dan Dow announced he would appeal a judge's motion disqualifying his office from prosecuting the Tiana Arata case. But Arata's legal team says that's exactly what they wanted. Reporter Nathan Danielson has more.
Federal Judge Matthew Guerrero granted the defense motion last month, citing an email Dow's wife sent to supporters fundraising off the Arata case. One of Arata's attorneys, Curtis Briggs, says he's excited by the appeal, calling it a strategic blunder on Dow's part.
Great. More hearings and more evidence means we're going to subpoena Dan Dow and put him on a stand under oath. And then we have him exactly where we want him. And we would never have been able to do that if he didn't file this appeal.
Briggs notes that the appeal creates a unique opportunity for the Arata case to leave a mark on the American legal system.
And if the appellate court sees it our way, then we have this opportunity to make binding precedent and binding law that will help other activists.
District Attorney Dow did not respond to a request for comment on this story, and his office has not released a statement about the appeal. However, in a statement regarding the recusal motion last month, Dow denied the existence of a conflict of interest and maintained his office had acted professionally. Briggs indicated that Tiana Arata will soon file a civil rights lawsuit against the district attorney's office and the SLO Police Department. Among other charges, Briggs accused SLO DA's investigator Michael LaRue of perjury and destruction of exonerating evidence.
But if he shows up in the same courtroom as I'm in, then I may place him under citizen's arrest.
For Mustang News, I'm Nathan Danielson.
Prosecutors have announced they support a diversion program for many of Arata's co-defendants, allowing for community service instead of jail time. Arata, however, has not been offered this deal.
Coming up after the break, we give a recap of one of the biggest store openings to come to the San Luis Obispo area during the past few months.
Meals on Wheels gives me a chance to be totally selfless. More than the food itself, a lot of seniors don't have family. So just to have someone to talk to, just to say, hey, how was your day? That means so much more than a meal could ever mean. We have to look outside of ourselves to be that lifeline to other people. It's worth it.
Welcome back. We now look back at a new French bakery that came to the San Luis Obispo area at the beginning of this year. Reporter Nikki Morgan has more on one of the biggest store openings yet.
San Luis Obispo bakery Monica's Macarons opened its doors in January of 2021. Owner Monica Anderson started baking with her daughters as a hobby and ended up finding her passion.
My daughter, we're in the food section of the books, and she sees, pulls this little cute book out. I still have it somewhere, but the recipe is terrible. It turns out. She's like, Mom, it's a little cute book. You should try making these French macarons. They're so cute. And I had never tried them. It's really strange. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're beautiful. Yeah, let's try it.
Anderson has a family history in fine arts and wanted to bring that into her baking.
I wanted to find a way to achieve the brightness of macarons without the food coloring. And it just, to me, I feel like it changes the taste of desserts, and it's not that good for you. So with my training with my stepdad, Andy, the technique, I just started mixing food paints and experimenting with 24 karat gold dust.
Anderson runs the business along with her partner Rick Joseph, and according to Joseph, the community response to their opening has been extremely positive.
So we did a soft opening last Saturday, and Monica baked about 250 macarons, and we sold out in less than 4 hours. So that there was a line out the door. So that was like a pretty good indication of where it was going to go.
As of now, the bakery is open from Thursday to Sunday at 1127 Broad Street. More info is available on their Facebook page. For Mustang News TV, I'm Nikki Morgan.
Great to see new small businesses in San Luis Obispo opening up amidst the pandemic.
Cal Poly's Music Production Union has come up with a unique way to continue creating music without meeting in person.
Frank Homolka did not imagine his senior year as president of the Music Production Union to include virtual hangouts and Zoom club meetings. However, due to COVID, Homolka has had to work with club members to come up with new ways to share music. Right now, the club is still in the early stages of producing an album that they hope will be finished by spring quarter.
Like a big thing we do is just throwing concerts and like jams and in-person things. And I feel like music really does not work very well over the internet. Like we're trying to do our best, but it's just not the same.
Members of the club play a variety of different instruments and genres, from techno to acoustic to reggae and rap. As a way to glue all these genres together, Homolka said the album is focused on a central theme, surrender to the algorithm. Members of the club are interpreting the theme in different ways. Electrical engineer senior Ryan Morris plans to create an electronic metal song based on the theme.
I want to do like electronic metal is because I think that'll be a very good tie-in to like kind of the machines warring against the more human aspect.
The album will be uploaded to Spotify and all other online streaming platforms. For Mustang News TV, I'm Grace Kiriyama.
We're looking forward to hearing what they come up with.
CP Intercept is a student organization that has introduced new events to their members this year while continuing their long-term project.
Students are reassembling a satellite donated to Cal Poly by Boeing, a project being done by members of CP Intercept, a student organization that stands for Cal Poly Interdisciplinary Satellite Engineering Project.
The goal was to follow industry standards as close as possible and try to reconstruct this thing through a standard process.
The project has been ongoing since Boeing donated the satellite about a decade ago. It's an HS-376 satellite and was usually used for telecommunication. These photos are from previous years, and while physical construction is on hold due to COVID-19 safety measures, members continue the project in other ways.
And one of the most important things you can do is make these 3D CAD models prior to actually building the satellite. So we're taking this as an opportunity to really get caught up in that area.
The team has also introduced virtual events this year, such as trivia nights and having guest speakers over Zoom.
We saw that there was this missing link during online learning of this face-to-face interaction. CP Intercept decided to take on outreach, and we create events that allow aerospace majors to interact with each other.
With Mustang News, I'm Amanda Rondez.
You can visit their YouTube channel, CP Intercept, to view their virtual speaker events.
After the break, hear about a Cal Poly student with one of the largest physical media collections in the San Luis Obispo area.
Have questions about the coronavirus?
I'm here to share some simple steps you can take to help protect yourself and others.
Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Wash your hands often with soap and water for 20+ seconds.
Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue.
Clean and disinfect surfaces and objects. Wash hands after touching commonly used items.
Together, we can help slow the spread.
See on page 4 that the projections need to be earthquake next Thursday.
Seriously? Thursday? Can't do that.
This is really inconvenient.
I have yoga that day. I have no time for this. So
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency. Don't wait. Communicate.
The coronavirus pandemic has boosted the importance of hobbies. For one Cal Poly senior, a physical media collection has grown significantly over the past year. Whether it's heavy metal, new wave, or punk rock, Cal Poly senior James Crasta prefers to listen from the turntable. And organized meticulously in a dozen cubbies next to that turntable are the LPs he adores. He's been building a record collection for more than 8 years now, but his reason for collecting goes beyond pure sound quality.
For me, record collecting is the action of digging into music in a way that is more than just the actual sounds that the songs make. Because when you have a physical album, there's a good amount of ephemera that you don't get when you just listen to the album digitally.
His collection started when his grandmother gave him a box of 1960s rock singles. It's been growing ever since.
Actual albums, I've got probably somewhere between 800 and 900, but just actual discs, I've got a little over 1,000.
Nearly 300 discs have been added during the pandemic, making 2020 a, quote, record year for James. For Mustang News, I'm Alex Byers. San Luis Obispo has 2 record stores safely open to help you expand your record collection this spring.
Looking for an adrenaline rush? Well, reporter Catherine Lane has more on an open-air trapeze right here in San Luis Obispo.
You may have seen this alongside Highway 101 South next to the Madonna Inn. Set up by Circus Vargas and the Nomadic Arts, is a half pipe where you can take lessons from professionals on the art of trapeze. Due to COVID, the Circus Vargas needed to adapt to a new format of entertainment where onlookers can be a part of the show. Performer and teacher Brian Mota says he really enjoys teaching newbies.
I like it a lot actually because some of the people, they don't realize how hard it is. They come, oh, this guy is doing a triple, boring. How boring is this guy? But then they go and they try to do the smallest trick and it's really hard for them. And it's really nice to know that, they start appreciating more and more what we do. And it's also cool that some of the people, once we can open the show again, they're gonna watch the show and be like, hey, I did that trick, that was so awesome, you know what I'm saying?
One of the students, Rhino Bushnell, says you have to trust your instructor.
As long as you listen to him, then it's cool. I thought about it just like, if you just listen, like when he says let go, just literally let go and does what he says, then it actually works out. I was able to do a double backflip, so it was kind of cool.
While COVID has put away the big top tent for now, Nomadic Arts Company owner and instructor Jordan Tribble says being a part of the circus and traveling is very natural to circus members.
I would not say it's hard living on the road, but I love it. I love living on the road. I love traveling from place to place, so I think for all of us, it's something that we really enjoy and is kind of in our systems, so it's not something to fight, We love to kind of go with the flow and travel to wherever the show takes us.
For Mustang News, I'm Catherine Lane.
If you're interested in braving these heights of the trapeze, you can go to circusvargas.com for more info.
Cal Poly seniors are wrapping up their college career with interesting projects. This is your Senior Project Spotlight.
As we come to the tail end of our school year, Cal Poly seniors are completing their senior projects. Welcome to Senior Project Spotlight, the series that features Cal Poly seniors' hard work on their projects. This week we focus on computer engineering senior Kevin Dixon and computer science senior Tegan Fleischman, who are working with the California State University Long Beach Shark Lab on their senior project. They're working on a more efficient way to retrieve data on sharks that will help researchers and could potentially protect beachgoers.
I have all these funny connections with Kevin, but one of the things that ties him and I together is that we're both surfers. And so when he came to me with this project idea and was like, we're basically gonna build a system to monitor sharks in the ocean, I thought that was kind of the coolest sounding thing ever, because for me, this project is sort of the intersection of something that I'm passionate about, which is the ocean and surfing and conservation, and using my skill set in computer science and programming to do that.
Currently, in order for the Shark Lab to track the movement of sharks, The lab has tagged acoustic transmitters to the fins of sharks, which sends the location every so often to any of the 115 receivers that line the coast from Point Conception to the Mexican-American border. But since the receivers require a team of scuba divers to retrieve the information they pick up, getting all the valuable data that the lab needs is not only time-consuming, but also expensive. Dixon and Fleischman are helping the Shark Lab with designing a buoy that will use the existing receivers and cellular radio transmitters to send the lab information in real time. The buoy would also gather information that the old receiver did not, like the weather and the sounds of the ocean with a hydrophone, which Dixon says could potentially help the public.
Now the researchers can get live data and like kind of look at it on a website and see, oh, this shark is here and it's moving up the coast. And then potentially if it's like really close to like Venice Beach, hey, maybe we want to let the lifeguards know, like big old Bessie white shark is is floating near the Santa Monica Pier. Like,
they hope to finish a prototype that will survive the waves by the end of the spring. For Mustang News, I'm Blas Alvarado.
Congratulations to all the Cal Poly seniors that are getting close to their graduation.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy.
Have you ever wondered about whether your professor enjoys pineapple on his pizza? Find out after the break in Burning Questions.
I love pineapple. Personally, I love pineapple on pizza.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Because most classes are online, it's harder for students to get to know their professors. Mustang News reporter Sophia Saliva decided to change this and put professors in the hot seat. This is Burning Questions.
I love pineapple. Personally, I love pineapple on pizza.
Pineapple tastes great. That's the best fruit.
Pineapple definitely belongs in pizzas. I don't have a problem with that, but I have a problem with calling it a Hawaiian pizza because pineapples are not from Hawaii. Pineapples are from Brazil.
Last year, a student missed class he had to get emergency surgery for a broken collarbone. And then the next day, next class, he had the x-ray on his phone and he was showing everyone his very, very broken collarbone. And he was proud of it at the time, but it sounded very painful.
My car broke down coming back from Coachella. I got too wasted at Coachella and woke up the day after and I missed class.
She traveled out to Chicago to go see the Cubs in the World Series. And it's like, yeah, you can't say no to that. Okay, so I probably would have to say President Nixon is the most famous person.
I met Tony Azevedo once, who is one of the top water polo players in the world.
Oh, I had the same ice cream that Obama had like an hour before.
I have students that are as vested in making this Zoom experience work as I am, and that has been very helpful.
It's not all going smoothly or there are technical problems or whatever. Like